Thank you, Edison and Samantha, for joining me today. So excited to be with you. As Imran said, loyalty is such a huge part of the end game when we think about, retailers using their stores as a community hub. So I thought we could start there. Why is it that when consumers view a store as a space that's bigger than just to have a transaction, is that such a important facet to building long-term brand loyalty? How does that happen? Samantha, I'll start with you.
Sure. Thank you, Sheena, so much for having me here today. It's a real honor. And to talk about our favorite topic, which is community building, which is, I think, the core of our business. We try to create places that people want to spend time. And I think it's a bit unorthodox, but at the heart of that pursuit is in some ways avoiding the sales process altogether. When we think about building a place where people want to be, we find that it makes a lot more sense to think about what somebody wants to spend and where somebody wants to spend their time and not where they necessarily want to spend their dollars. We think the two are supremely correlated. So if they get there and they're spending their time, they will end up spending their dollars. But if you think of the heart of your mission to just get them to go and sit on a lawn and read a book or have a coffee in a courtyard, you will, I think, create much deeper bonds and deeper loyalty, because at least the people I know, they wake up every morning and they think, what am I going to do today? Not necessarily what am I going to buy today. So we want to respond to that need. Where am I going to spend my time? Where am I going to be with my family? And we think the shoes or the t-shirt will come quickly after.
That's a great point. Edison, same question. Why do you think there's such a close connection? I think beyond many other consumer metrics, when you think about loyalty, it's so closely connected to feeling a sense of community in a physical space. Your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think every store space that we've ever attempted to open has been very kind of geared toward what is this space meant to be, instead of, obviously it's a store, but some of our stores, we treat them more like galleries, so when people come in and they don't feel forced, like, oh, you have to make a transaction. We like to put up art, we like to have events, we like to have interesting toys or whatever's hot at that moment kind of being displayed, not necessarily for sale. And I think that the most important thing for us is if someone walks into our store, it's important for them, even if without a purchase, for them to feel inspired or included in the community that we're trying to build. And, I think that snowballs every time, we have an event or they come to the store. And, it's important for them to feel welcome and at home, so to speak, in our retail environment, because in essence, we are kind of building a crew, a community, so even though it's not so direct, I think the indirectness of trying to educate and kind of open their eyes is one of the things that we value very much when we think about a retail location or a retail experience.
How much of creating that community hub is reliant on demographics, right? Like the city and the town that you're in. How much research goes into figuring out that, Samantha, you said sitting on the lawn, maybe that's popular for consumers in Tampa, whereas in Boston, maybe they're thinking about the seaport. How do you start to source for that kind of information when you create a community hub experience? I'll start with you, Samantha.
Yeah, I think it's one thing I've learned. As much as I wish there were a lot of commonalities amongst different neighborhoods and different communities, we think each one is completely distinct. And whenever we buy a property, and we have many around the country, the first thing we do is just listen. Just sit and listen to anyone who will talk to us. Get as many people in a room and on the phone and say, what do you love about this place? What do you hate about this place? What do you need? What do you not need? Just have a very, very deep and very, very patient period of fact finding. And I find that, a lot of people talk about scale. Developers talk about it. Retailers talk about it. And I think that it's a bit of a scary word because, at the heart of it, I think is a suggestion that you can get to a model and then you can replicate it. And in my mind, I certainly know I don't want to walk into a store or a mall or whatever it is in Tampa or in Boston or in Palm Beach and have them all feel the same. I want it to feel like the community I'm in, and especially like the community that is mine. And for us, in order to really tap into the heart of those communities, you just have to infiltrate them. And I think for us, the key way to do that, above and beyond the listening then, is with our team, with our spectacular humans who live and breathe these properties, these assets every day. And they are the heartbeat of what we do. And I was fortunate enough to hear Virgil Abloh speak yesterday. He refers to his tribe, and it really resonated with me because I think that our tribe is what distinguishes our places. And similarly with a great retailer, if you walk in and you meet a person who's passionate about that place, you feel it. They can't fake that. You could try to fake it. It doesn't work super well. But to find the team that's on the ground and going to be there till midnight at an event or up at 3 a.m, Instagramming with somebody to get that person to your next whatever it is you're hosting, that I think is the difference between really being local and just pretending to be.
Mm-hmm. Edison, I would ask you the same question. You have, retail in Asia and you have retail in LA. How do you start to put together the pieces of the demographic puzzle when you want to make that each space feel super local and super connected?
Well, I mean, I think the one advantage I have is that I lived in Los Angeles for about 7 years before we opened our store. So, I'd had deep research on local kind of, vibes and needs and wants, and what was lacking from the community. And, but I definitely think that, even within China, from city to city, everything is, the culture is very different, and trying to really accommodate and accentuate what the locals are feeling or what they're going through or what that trend is, because trending supposedly is a thing that you can measure globally, but actually if you look into the minute detail, there's different subsections of these so-called trends, right? So enabling, I think, not only the local team to be more vocal, like Samantha said, is really trying to find a crew or a team of people, or as Virgil says, a tribe of people, that it really isn't their job. It's something that they live, that they love. So, one of the first things that we kind of look for, especially for the first few key members of our retail doors, are people that just love the culture, and they love the brand. So immediately there, they want to be a part of the family. And as we welcome them, they start feeling kind of more empowered, and then they start speaking up more and giving us, everything that they have. And, so when people come in and do a job, they do what they're paid. But when they're a part of a family, they give you their all. So I think really finding those key members, that when you're trying to scale, that are locally relevant, but also get the bigger picture. I mean, it's hard. It's easier said than done. It's really hard to really find the right wavelength of both sides. But when you find them, you usually find that the location that they're in charge of is one of the most kind of like enjoyable and happy places. So retail nowadays isn't just about a sale at all. I think it's really not about a sale, especially as more and more people shop online and the store actually is just an area for people to understand what you as a company are representing, and getting into the locality of it is very important. I mean, this Chengdu store that we have compared to the Shanghai store is vastly different, and it's is because of the lifestyle. And I think that the lifestyle definitely leads, how we look at the store, because, stores right now, before it's like brick and mortar, it's like, here, come here, look at the shirt, try the shirt, buy it. Like a lot of that process is taken away from the internet now. So, just localizing and welcoming the people. I think, a lot of people, when big brands go to a new city, they feel somehow threatened, oh, am I cool enough to go there, or, this and that. And it's like finding the right mix of people and things that, energy is definitely important, I think, city by city.
Retail is in the middle of sort of a labor shortage. So it'd be interesting if both of you could sort of weigh in on how do you find talent that embodies the community in this way, the tips and tricks that you've learned along the way, because it sounds to me that you're saying in order to be a part of the community, you need it internal and external. So the people that you hire should really be immersed in the locality. How do you do that? What are the specific tips and tricks you've learned so far, Samantha?
It's so hard. I wish Edison would go first on this one. I would love to hear his tips and tricks, because I think it's the biggest challenge. It's also the biggest opportunity. And I would say that like everything in our business, I think the most important thing is having extremely high standards and not giving in on those. At our company, if we can't find somebody to do a job, I do it. One of my other really senior people does it. We just pitch in until we can find an A+ superstar player instead of settling for a B+ player. And I think that deciding that you're going to find that excellence and you're going to wait for it and you're going to be really patient. And then when that person comes, that you're going to help cultivate it and bring them along and not expect everything to be perfect on day one. Like Edison said, I think that the best people are the people who are really passionate about our business and really excited about it. And you can't teach that. It's probably unfair to say, but I know when I walk into an interview from looking at someone's face, how excited they are to be there or not. Like if they think that this is a check the box, I'm going to get a job, versus they were up all night and they were studying and they were Googling and they really want to talk about the, intricate details of one of the properties, and they were reading all the Yelp reviews and they know more about our Instagram accounts than I do. That person has this fire in them that's going to drive them through every single decision. And the best advice is to wait for it, just not to settle, just find those humans and then hold on for dear life, never let them go. We'll hopefully all work together when we're 85 years old, and it'll be a beautiful old age home. That is my biggest hope.
I love that. How long does that typically take when you say you're waiting for it? Are you waiting are you interviewing 100 people to find that one gem? Are you interviewing a dozen? Is it, and it's probably even harder now, as I mentioned, with, the space that we're in terms of exiting, hopefully, a pandemic, that, labor isn't what it used to be.
Yeah. It's a scary answer. It's long. I mean, we've had, we can have jobs open for a year. And to me, that's better than filling it with somebody who isn't going to crush it. I wouldn't recommend that to a lot of people. You have to really be willing to take a lot of pain for the long-term payoff. And that's who we are. We're long-term folks, and we don't sell our real estate, so we're able to do that. But it can take a really long time. I've never felt that it wasn't worth it, though. On the flip side, when you find that person, and we'll all leave a room and we'll say, we finally got our person. It is the greatest feeling. And I wish it for all of you. I think it's out there.
Edison, thoughts on the process of finding these people and the painstaking nature? And by the way, are you calling these people that we talk about retail associates? Are you calling them your tribe? What are the job titles for these kinds of folks that really make the store feel like a community? Edison?
No, I mean, whenever we are the Clot family, it's very direct and simple. We a lot of our staff have worked with us since day one. So I'd say around 40 to 50, 60% of our staff, our headquarters staff, have been with us for about 20 years. So, I think that is an important part, for me, especially, because, I can't go and interview every single person everywhere. But having people that understand the nature and the culture of what it is that we represent and what it is that we are as a family makes it a lot easier for us to be able to send out the troops, and really like have them navigate and kind of search for these people. I mean, it's almost like war, and I have a couple 5 or 6 generals that I completely trust in, and I send them on missions, and they've been with me for about 15 years, so they already know what makes me irked or what makes me happy. And I think that that's an important thing. Like, feel like I'm very lucky to have such loyal staff that have stuck with me through thick and thin. I mean, not every day is a good day, but people that are willing to learn. I think that that's the most important part. I think some people walk in, and they're like, yeah, we love what you do, blah blah blah. I'm the coolest guy on the block, and it's like, really? Like, so there's definitely a factor of the type of person that we want to work with, someone that isn't jaded and someone that is willing to admit that, they can still learn every day, because, me at the same time, and I'm sure with Samantha as well, is that that's what we're urging for. That's something that we're looking for, like, some type of new spark or a new idea or something that we haven't experienced. And I think that in working with people from high to low, it gives us different perspectives, and being able to be open to listen to their perspective is something that I've taught my team, from day one, and being humble, and getting them to first be the screen and have them understand what it is that we expect and what it is that is Clot culture is invaluable, because then they can go find our store managers, then they can go find our warehouse people, and they all kind of live within this same standard. And I think that without these few key generals, we wouldn't be where we are. So I'd be lying if I could tell you that I know the secret sauce myself. I just know that I trust my crew, and the training that we give each one is the same from the highest position to the lowest position. And I think that breeds the community, and everyone understands what we expect and what we represent. And if you don't like it, you can leave. And if you love it, you stay with us forever. And I think that that's an important part of the culture of Clot.
Yeah, I love that you both have made such a powerful connection between the employee loyalty and also the consumer loyalty, because those two things probably go hand in hand more than people realize. I want to talk a little bit about product, because at the end of the day, I imagine both stores have product. Is there a way that you design or lay out the store or the product that really helps to make it feel more community centric? Edison, we talked a little bit about having the store, I believe in China, one of your Asian stores, being with a sneaker wall, like different ways that you do that really mirrors the community that you're in. How do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think, because we are a select store that also carries our own brand, I think what you can see is the local curation of what the people so-called want or what they're missing. Also, we like I said in the beginning, a lot of the times, the retail doors that we when we first come in, it's like it's going to be a gallery, right? So, what do local people want to see, or what are they for, and that kind of leads to the discussion of the way that the interior is designed is like, in LA it's a heavy art gallery vibe, and in Shanghai it's like an old traditional kind of Chinese pagoda village, and it's like I said, it's heavy in sneaker display, because the sneaker culture there, I mean, we were one of the first places to have a high Nike account, and we wanted to display that and show other kind of facets of just our clothing making. So, we have like it looks like a sauna room, like imagine being in a sauna room in the changing room, and all of like the little changing rooms are sneakers and stuff, and that would never be in our American store, but in our Shanghai store it works. So just trying to figure out the locality, like yet again, like even when we say, oh, we're trying to make it look like a gallery, let's hang 5 pieces of art. Not necessarily will each piece work in each location, and not only is it to the architecture, it's also to the local community. So I definitely think that the curation of each store by store, each branch by branch is heavily reliant on local culture and local needs.
Samantha, talk to me about the power of programming and placemaking in your developments, and maybe you should just tell us what those 2 things are first, and then talk about how that works to support this community hub experience.
Sure. Well, I think it sort of goes to your very first question about how we think about getting people to our places and how that is more about spending time than about spending money. I think that goes almost entirely to programming and activation. When we think about what those words mean, it's really anything that brings a person to a property for a specific purpose. So that could be a yoga class, that could be a screening of Virgil Abloh movie, that could be a concert, that could be a gathering of moms who want to get together and have a book club. Whatever the event is, we believe very strongly that you have to fight every single day to earn your customer. It doesn't matter how good we were yesterday. It's a pretty painful way to live, but I wake up every morning assuming I'm not going to be good again today, and the customer will not love us. And how do we again convince them to? And that's a bit about physical space. Our product is buildings. We build things. We hope we build nice things, beautiful things. We hope we build things that feel good and soulful, but then you have to surround those things with events and activation that creates the energy that I think is the heart of a neighborhood. And when you think about old European towns or great high streets around the world, there's a current that runs through them that has been created organically over generations of people knowing each other in the stores and sitting outside and having a coffee and ice cream truck driving by. And in our business, we have to cut out hundreds of years of that evolution to get to the same endpoint. And I think the only way to do that and make it feel good is you bring in all of that same energy and you try to just capture it in the center of gravity. And when you bring in the right people who, like Edison was saying, the people who are just as we want them to be about our business, passionate about an event or passionate about music or passionate about yoga, they share that energy. And I know it feels like a crazy thing to say, but you actually feel it. You actually feel when your neighborhood is full of people who want to be there and love to be there. And that's all about picking the right partners. And it's about offering it to your community in a welcoming way. We don't charge for our activations almost ever. We want people to be there because they want to be there. And then again, our business is the health of our retailers. So I'd be lying if I said we didn't want it to convert to sales, but we put that out of our heads. If they're there and they're happy, I promise you they want a new pair of shoes. But that comes after they had a really nice lunch and a great afternoon.
I love that, because I was going to ask next, how do you measure success of this community experience? What are the metrics that you're looking at? And more than that, how do you, if something isn't resonating, how do you know and how do you pivot? I'll ask that to both of you, and then we'll take some audience questions. Measuring success and knowing when to pivot. Edison.
I mean, as bad as it sounds, it's just for us. It's the monthly sale rate, And I'm just it's just brutally honest, because, like you said, it's when you create energy, no matter if it's a tea party or a screening or a skateboard competition, like there's always this end goal of allowing this new customer or your customer to feel welcome. And when they feel welcome, like they'll consume. And like I said, the consuming part isn't necessarily just a transactional thing. It has to be some type of lifestyle culture. It has to be something that makes them feel welcome without paying for membership, so to speak, right? So, I think that I always speak to my retail and my business side, because I'm actually the creative side, and my business side is always like, oh, we made this much. And I'm like, but actually we got so much more foot traffic this month because of this and this and this. But now it's time for us to translate that into a sale or into business in a clever way, because, I feel like although it seems like these two can just kind of come together like this, it's almost like they come at a different angle, and then you have to adjust it and then make them click, because we don't really charge much for our events also, but I think the diversity of the event is important. If you keep doing basketball and basketball and basketball and basketball and basketball, then obviously you're just going to get one type of demographic of customer.
Sure. I want to squeeze in a couple of these audience questions, if you don't mind. So Vivi from Malaysia asks, do you think it's important for stores to be large format to properly serve as community hubs? So basically, small format stores versus large format stores. Samantha, I think that's a great question for you to take from a real estate development perspective.
This is my favorite question. Anyone on my team who's watching would be laughing right now. I love tiny stores. I think you can do so much out of 200 feet. We actually launched in the Seaport in Boston a collection of tiny homes called The Current. We have 9 little boxes that sit right on a park. Some are 200 feet, some are 400 feet. And it forces creativity. Like, you don't take any inch of your space for granted. It's the most efficient. It's like this little bento box of perfection. And I think that in a building that we're about to open for Amazon, we have 1,000-foot space that I just cut in two. We made an 800-foot space and a 200-foot space. Anybody who's watching who has a 200-foot concept, please come to us. We're looking for folks, because I think it is so magical when you walk into these little jewel box experiences. And there's one person in there. You're usually one person in there. It forces connection. And I think that is at the heart of community. So maybe it takes a little longer because you do it one person at a time. But I think it's really, really powerful. I love big stores too. Don't get me wrong. But I think the small store gets a bad rap. And I think that it's a really, really powerful tool.
Sure. I think we have time for one more question, which I'll put to both of you. FIT NYC asks, how have you found that consumers find it important that the retailer gives back to some local project or charity? Does that contribute even further to that loyalty, that end goal of loyalty among the consumers, if you're charity driven in some capacity? Edison?
I mean, I don't know if it's really like charity driven, you know what I mean? Like, it's especially in China, charity is a very interesting word. So what we try to do is we try to just give back to community, and that's not necessarily every time is a charity. It's creating events that are fun and kind of, exciting your mind. And I think that definitely if we don't have those things, other people are doing them, and we really kind of lose out. And I think that these are moments for us to flex our kind of, our spectrum of lifestyle experience, or of our perspective on how to live and what we think is cool. So. Sure.
Samantha, final thoughts on giving back.
Yeah, we think it's incredibly important. Just as people, we want to do it with our properties and our stores as a medium. We think it's really powerful too as a form of connection, and we let that be guided by the stores and by the local teams who say, there's a great cause right now, we're going to do an event. Why not have that event benefit this great cause? Let's bring the community together for a purpose that we can all get really excited about. And then at the end of the day, you go to sleep really excited about sales and really excited about having done our part to just help make our world a little bit of a better place.
I love that. I think that is a great note to end on, thinking about community and then giving back to the community. Stores can do that. I think they're well on their way.